Hi friends, this is Bob Hatton. This is the Encourager. We want to continue looking at the parameters of the kingdom of God. We're in the Sermon on the Mount. Sermon on the Mount. You find the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, 6 and 7. And now we've come to chapter 7. And if you would like to read the verses 1 to 5, that's a good place to start so that you can you can find your way into this theme. The thing I want to tell us is that we have to stay awake. We have to be watchful. You know, we make decisions every day in the family, at work, at school, and sometimes these decisions, other people don't agree with us, and that causes a little bit of friction. But normally this belongs to everyday life, and it doesn't cause any more problems. It's nothing personal, and we soon get over these things. I make a decision what somebody else doesn't like, but we soon learn to swallow it pretty quickly. Other people make decisions, I don't like them, but I swallow it. It's nothing personal. It might be not even that important. But then there are other situations where somebody says something or some decision is made and I get offended by that. And we've got to be careful here, because it's what I mean when I say we've got to be watchful, because we easily get upset if we're not watchful. We easily get offended, and Jesus is telling us that's not part of the kingdom of God. We need to have big hearts so that we can forgive one another. When Jesus talked about our Father, the Lord's Prayer, he says, and pray, forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against me. So forgiveness is something that is quite important for this kingdom of God. I think it's one of the central points. It's a very important part of the parameter for the kingdom of God, that we do forgive. And Jesus says, if you don't forgive your brother or your sister, how can you expect God to forgive you? Well, actually, God is full of grace and mercy, that he does forgive us. But Jesus is trying to tell us something that is so important. And he uses this illustration. He says, you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother or sister's eye, and you fail to see that in your own eye there's a huge beam, there's a huge piece of wood. And this is quite funny, it's humorous. If you could just imagine that, somebody walking around with a big piece of wood sticking out of his eye. But what he's trying to tell us, to see this sawdust, you've got to get up very close. You've got to really scrutinize the person's eye, not just his life, but his eye. And somewhere in the corner of his eye, there's this little speck of sawdust, which might cause the person some discomfort. But you see that, and on the other hand, you're not able to see this huge piece of wood in your own eye. Now, one of the reasons why we become observant, or why we see the speck of sawdust in our brother's eye, is because this is actually just a part of the balka. This is just a part of the beam that is in our eye. And because we have problems with that, we see these problems in the lives of other people. Now, what Jesus is telling us is that we need to be reconciled as quickly as possible. You need to get rid of the beam that is in your eye. Maybe you need counsel, maybe you need help, maybe you need somebody just to speak to you, and maybe you need to take inventory of your life. But what you need to do, you need to get over the sawdust in the eye of your brother or sister, and that means to be reconciled. As I said, this is one of the most important part of the parameter for the kingdom of God, and Jesus wants us to be reconciled with our brothers and sisters. He wants us to be one. In the book of Philippians, I think it's chapter 4, he says that we have to bear with one another. We have to carry one another. It's Galatians chapter 6 verse 1. If somebody is overcome overcome by something, let us carry one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. And this is very important, that we do not judge one another, because with the measure that we use to judge, with that same measure we also will be judged. So I'm not saying that we ignore everything that's going wrong. Sometimes we need to speak to one another, we need to exhort one another, we need to correct one another, but let's not be offended, let's not be upset about what people say to us, but let's have such a big heart that we are ready to forgive when we are upset with people. God bless you. Have a very good day. I'll see you again. Your Bob Hatton.